Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of the day it is that you're joining us. This is the Tulsa World Scene podcast, and I'm joined here by the lovely and talented Jimmie Tramel and the lovelier and talented Grace Wood to talk about all things cultural, both highbrow and lowbrow, and a few other things that come to mind. Somewhere in the middle, I guess, of the brows is the whole culture of comic books. And Jimmie, tell us a little bit about what you have, what's up for your weekend.
Well, on Saturday, I will be at the Pryor Creek Comic Convention all day long in Pryor, Oklahoma on the fairgrounds, Saturday, October 15th from 10 to 5. 6 years ago, the Pryor Area Arts Council said, hey, we'd like to do a Comic-Con, but we don't really know much about the comic part of the deal. So they knew I had some connections. And ever since then, we've been partnering for a comic and pop culture convention that benefits the Pryor Arts Council. It's $5 to get in. We've got Muriel Farion, the creator of Strawberry Shortcake and the Care Bears. She's a really popular guest. And our co-worker, John Woolley, will be there, a former co-worker, John Woolley, as an author guest. And cash prize, costume contest, all kind of fun stuff for $5 on fall break. It's a hard bargain to beat.
You mentioned costumes, and Grace kind of perked up a little bit there. I saw that.
Grace is coming in costume. You didn't know this?
Okay.
She's going to be in the cash prize cosplay contest.
Yeah, I'm dressing up as a Care Bear.
That'd be awesome.
I would pay $5 to see that.
Jimmie, what are some of the most memorable costumes you've seen over the past 6 years doing the
Oh gosh. Well, that area of fandom has really exploded with people putting so much time and energy into their costumes. Boy, I wish I could say one that stands out above all the rest, but I'm really not sure. I think we said this about the fair, but because of the costumes, it's just a great place for people watching.
For sure.
Or creature watching, depending on what
we're close to Halloween, sure.
Their costumes are. Well, now the conventions are all over the place, and so many of them more and more seem to be movie or driven or animation driven. Is Pryor a little unique because it focuses more on comic books rather than? I doubt you have a budget, to bring in Steven Spielberg or something like that. But
we have had celebrity guests over the years. And to tell a secret, I did try to bring in some people from Reservation Dogs to be guests this year, but it just didn't quite work out. We have had celebrity guests. Misty Rowe, my buddy from Hee Haw, has been with us before. We've had a Power Ranger and other things. But you're so right in that what used to be Comic-Cons in dingy dark hotels with some comic dealers and Star Trek folks have become pop culture conventions that encompass everything, movies, TV, music. And I ask people, they say, should I come to the con? I say, do you like stuff? Because if you like stuff, we're going to have stuff. And there'll be something that you like. You didn't know you wanted it, but when you see it, you're going to buy it because you like stuff. That said, as a comic book person, as a comic book purist, there's nothing worse than a Comic-Con with no comics. And we have always placed a priority on having comics. I think of our 80-some tables, at least maybe 35 have comics.
Well, it is interesting. In kind of watching from afar the evolution of these. I remember when they were science fiction conventions. That was how they were built, and it was primarily novelists were the big draws. I remember going to one in the Mayo Hotel where the Mayo Ballroom, which is the footprint of the hotel itself, practically. That was the book room, and it was nothing but dealers of secondhand and first print books, and autographed copies by who knows who. And I've attended a couple others in subsequent years, and they've shifted from being called a science fiction convention to a fantasy convention to Comic Cons. That was kind of the progression.
Sure.
Whether that's actually accurate or just my very
No,
blinkered way of seeing the world.
They were more quote unquote literary back in the day. I think in the Oklahoma science fiction writers will have a table at the Pryor Comic Con. So there's still that element. Grace, what celebrity could I get that would get you to Pryor Creek Comic Con? What person out there would guarantee Grace showing up at the con?
Well, it's actually 3 people. I think it would have to be the hosts of the last podcast on the left. Do either of you ever listen to that show?
No,
Or have you heard of it before? It's like a true crime show, and they kind of break down like famous true crime cases and like UFO sightings and just all things kind of weird and mysterious. And they actually have written 2 comic books, so they frequent the Comic-Con circuit quite a bit. So I think if they were at the Pryor Comic-Con, I would be first in line.
Huh. I'll have to investigate this. That sounds cool.
Yeah, they're awesome.
I don't know. I have more than enough stuff in my
As
life.
do I. Yeah.
And there comes a point when you ask yourself, why do I have all this stuff? And my mother's answer to that is so you can have better garage sales. But I don't know. It's probably the only. Well, I probably the only celebrity that I might go out to see, I've already seen twice, and so I don't know that I need to see that again. But it is Stephen King.
Oh,
Okay, cool.
that's a good one.
And I've already got his autograph.
Very cool.
He came to the University of Oklahoma in this is November of 82, and did a lecture that was very entertaining. And then my writing teacher, or one of the writing teachers in the class, had a special thing with him where he would talk and sign books. And then about 4 years ago, Magic City Books brought him in for a big event at the Cain's Ballroom that I covered. And I remember him saying at that time that this was his first time ever to come to Oklahoma. And I thought, wait a minute, I have proof.
Sure.
He didn't come to, it was the first time probably to be in Tulsa, definitely. But he said it was just Oklahoma, period. And then I was reading his, I think it was his book on writing, where he said that in the early 80s, from about 1981 to 1983, he was badly addicted to cocaine, to the point that he says he does not remember writing the novel Cujo.
Wow.
And he was working on that during his time here in Oklahoma. So it's now understandable why he doesn't remember ever coming to Oklahoma.
Sure. Wow.
But yeah, so that's
You showed us that autograph. This is kind of a different question, but I'm not an autograph person who goes to shows to pay for celebrity autographs. James, you have Stephen King's autograph. Is there a
I did not
celebrity
pay
out
for
there-
that. I did not pay for that.
You didn't pay for it, but you have it.
No, I haven't.
Is there a celebrity out there that, and a lot of times we're not awed because we talk to these kind of people all the time. So we're not in awe or reverence or anything else. We just treat them like people. But are there any celebrities out there, Grace and James, that you would pay for their autograph?
Mm. I think Stevie Nicks. Because I haven't hung it up yet in my new apartment, but I have like a framed picture of her on my wall, so I would probably get that autographed and hang it up. I love her.
I don't know. Again, I'm not. There's only been, and unfortunately I couldn't find it to prove it, but there's only been one time I have specifically gone someplace to get somebody's autograph, and it was the writer Pat Conroy, who wrote The Great Santini and the Lords of Discipline, The Prince of Tides, and he had just come out with The Prince of Tides, and I specifically went to a bookstore in Tulsa to get him to autograph my copy of it. And then the other one that I would be Neil Gaiman, which he signed this for me using a fountain pen filled with a ink that he said he chose because it was the closest color to dried blood that he could find. So
Cool.
that's just, we fountain pen aficionados do some weird things. So, okay. Well, just curious, Jimmy, what was the first comic book you ever bought with your own money?
There's no telling. It could have been anything. Probably some Richie Riches, and then morphed into some DC and Marvel stuff. And I can remember some of the first that I bought. I can remember where I bought them, like what store and where the spinner rack was. I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, but I can remember that, The kind of a wild thing, though, is I have roots in Mays County and Pryor. 3 of my uncles worked for the paper mill there in Pryor at the industrial park. And that they knew that I liked comics as a kid. And they would bring me bales of coverless comics that had been sent to the paper mill to be recycled. I don't know how legal this all was, but they brought them to me. And then
I think the statute of limitations is lapsed, but anyway.
But back in the day, the stores had to do that. They were sent to the stores, and if you didn't sell it, you could get your money back from the publisher, but you had to tear the cover off, send the cover to the publisher, then the coverless comics go to recycling. And so, but in the years since, I've replaced all those coverless comics with the covered version because I just couldn't stand to have the coverless version with me. And I was prepared to drive to Cincinnati to get Paul Williams' autograph, Little Enos from Smokey and the Bandit, at a con about a month ago, but then he canceled. So then I said, if I can't get Little Enos' autograph, I'm not going to, Most of the autographs I would want, they passed away. I want Darren McGavin. I want Tom Laughlin from Billy Jack. I'd love to have James Garner, but those gentlemen have all passed. I would settle for Stuart Margolin, who was Angel Martin on Rockford. That'd be great. I'd take that autograph.
I just remember stories of, I think it was the humorist Robert Benchley, that would visit people's houses and then go through their bookshelves and autograph books. Like he'd take down a collected works of William Shakespeare and write, to Robert, great job, love your work, Willie Shakes, that kind of a thing. But anyway. How about you, Grace? Are you a comic book aficionado at all?
No, I haven't collected any comic books, but I do think it would be a cool thing to get into. I have like a record collection. That's probably the closest thing, but no comic books for me.
Okay.
Well, James, what you said about having too much stuff, that exactly is how a collector becomes a dealer. It's like people look around and say, I have too much stuff. How much is your table rate for the next show? And then there you go. There you go.
Well, that. So it is kind of like a garage sale. Okay. But I just found it interesting that Richie Rich is a gateway drug. But anyway,
do we want to promote any of our stuff in the paper before we get out of here?
Yeah, we should probably say what we do in our real lives. What have you got coming up, Miss Wood, for us this weekend?
Saturday, World of Homes. I have a story about a local horticulturist / artist / self-described mad scientist named Tyler Thrasher, And he's a really cool guy. He has invented his own plants, like cultivated different strains of plants. He grows his own crystals. He's been featured on like Netflix shows, like totally cool guy. And he just came out with a book that's kind of like a guide for houseplants, kind of teaching people how to best take care of different species of houseplants and how to make their own soil if they want to, and how to track the growth of their plants across the seasons and stuff like that. So I sat down with him in his garage turned greenhouse where he has like hundreds of plants, just leaves hitting you in the face, just so many plants. And I talked to him about his new book and all the other stuff he's working on. So that'll come out this Saturday.
Okay. Jimmy, what you've got coming up?
It was my week to talk to people whose names start with the letters ELV, because I have interviews with Elvira and Elvin Bishop. Elvira has the, we talked to her a year ago when her memoir came out. It's very good. I love it. And then it's now being released in paperback. So she's doing media interviews again. And, you know, of course you say, yes, I'll talk to you again. And you talk to Elvira, and we've got a Friday story. Elvin Bishop is turning 80, Tulsa musician, best known for Fool Around and Fell in Love, but it's not his only claim to fame. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I really enjoyed talking to Elvin Bishop and getting his story, his basically life at 80 so far story.
Okay. All right. Well, we have an interview with the actress who is playing the role of Anna in the touring production of Disney's Frozen. She has been a part of the show since she was part of the original workshop productions. I mean, she goes back before it was a thing. That production, like everything else on Broadway, shuttered in March of 2020. And the producers just said, we're just going to close the show completely. And she had been in the ensemble and an understudy and had never been able to be promoted up to the lead role. And so they, she got the call earlier this year that they needed a new Anna, and would she do it? And so she's finally getting her chance to own the spotlight in that show. And we also talked with Theater Tulsa. They are doing Little Shop of Horrors. They're doing it a little differently. They have a cast that is almost entirely people of color, which is gonna make it a little bit different. But that's coming up. And Gilcrease Museum has been closed since last year, July of last year, to make way for a completely new museum. But the Gilcrease is started a program called Gilcrease in Your Neighborhood. It officially launches October 21st, where they're going to be putting reproductions of a select image from the museum's collection at more than 30 locations around the area. There'll be a whole bunch of information and programming that go with it, from QR codes to create an augmented reality view of the painting, to festivals and lectures and all kinds of things. So that'll be coming up. That's all that we got coming up this Sunday as well.
Yeah.
So, well, I think we've covered more than our share of the waterfront this week. So on behalf of our colleagues, we want to wish you a pleasant good day, and we will see you next time.
Behave.
Bye.